A few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And Matt Hagen, whatever this means.
That's for A or A for A few Goldilock Bears.
Oh, that is the first word of the title, isn't it?
You.
Oh yeah. G is the worst.
AFGB.
This is going to be great for the listener-only audience who aren't watching the YouTube.
But who would want to do that, man? You might miss out on these sweet backgrounds. All right. Well, let's start off the show before we get into our loves, hates, and indifferences. We like to do deja vus. John, let's go.
Yeah, I've got one. So Matt, you a while back said you hated mullets, but I don't think we talked about lady mullets, which seem to be highly in fashion again for some reason. What do you think about those?
Lady mullets.
Yeah.
I find those equally as disgusting, I think. Equally as gross. Yeah, it's just not appealing all the way around. What do you think?
I guess I didn't really like I've seen the hairstyle and I didn't really notice it or think of it as a mullet until someone was like, oh yeah, what about lady mullets? And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's technically what that is. But I don't know. I don't mind it, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Well, it exudes white trash, right? Like you look at somebody differently when they have a mullet, right? Or I do. I'm sorry. I do. I don't want to do that to you. Non-judgmental people.
Of course, when I say you, I mean me. Is that what's going on here?
Is that what? And that's what always happens. Yeah.
I want that to be some character like on Donnie Darko, like, oh, that's old lady mullets over there. She keeps checking that mailbox.
Mildred Mullets. Well, I have a deja vu. So I've hearing some crazy things about Aaron Rodgers. Like he's going to do this. He's going to sit in a dark room for 4 straight days and ponder his life and have hallucinations and stuff like this. He's on some radio show talking about he needs to find his center and figure out what he's going to do. If he's going to continue, and to do this, he's going to go into isolation. Apparently there's some place you can go where you can just get locked up for 4 days in the dark with nothing, just your thoughts. And then there was this whole thing, like he was a guest speaker at a astrology seminar. And that's just like, this guy, I swear he's trolling us at this point. But so that, anyway, I hear this astrology thing and it gets me thinking, I don't know. I virtually know anything about astrology. So that is my indifference for the week is astrology. And I know enough to know that I am a Taurus, I guess.
Hey, I know I am too, being that we were born on the same day, less than an hour apart from each other.
In the same hospital.
No, that's where you're wrong.
Yes.
Well, where were you born?
30 minutes apart in time.
And 30 minutes away.
Hospital to hospital.
By vehicle.
Yes.
All right. Well,
we have that Libra bond that you'll never know, Vince.
I know. And I desperately want in. But you know what, though? I'm a Libra, which means the scales.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always liked that. I'm like, yeah, I try and find balance in life, you know? Yeah, so I've always appreciated that.
Is that what the scales are going for? Like you're a very balanced person? Is that what that means?
I took it for myself. I took it and ran with it. I'm like, no, scales means, yeah, I don't know, maybe the scales of justice.
One side is incredibly weighted more than the other. I mean, I guess that's what the scales mean, right? But yeah,
so I don't know. Not only are we a Taurus, but we were born in the year of the ox, so it's like double horns.
Taurus and ox. So we have 4 horns, right? 4 dangerous horns.
Okay, so have you guys looked up like compatibility? Like, what's your wife, Matt? Is she a compatible Taurus?
I would imagine. Well, she's born in May as well, but there's like a cutoff in May. I don't know
Right.
what it is. I guess she's a Taurus as well. So I don't know. Do Tauruses get along, or are they butting horns all the time?
I think you're supposed to get with different signs, I think. I mean, I don't know. I used to
In
know
general.
this stuff. This is interesting. I like
So
it, though.
you used to know this stuff. So you were interested enough to learn about all this stuff?
Yes, I was born, I was called Star Child in this little gated community. No, astrology was just like, it's like what else is there? Aquarius, and they're like, oh, if you're an Aquarius, you're this type of personality and stuff like that.
How about all those poor people that are cancers?
Hmm.
What's
The
that
crab?
personality?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah,
that
they
is?
get a little itchy crotch, but it's no biggie.
And
Well, you
isn't there
guys-
like categories too, like water signs and
I think Aquarius for sure, right?
Pisces, that's the fish. That's probably a water sign, right?
All right, yeah.
And like,
Yeah,
aren't
but
we
what's
in like, aren't we in like the age of? Is it Aquarius
age
now,
of
Is it?
or is it gonna be?
Because that was a song forever. Still is.
It has not ceased to be a song.
Disappeared.
That'll be freaky when it just disappears. That's my Mandela effect. I'm like, you remember the song? Okay, well then, so you say you're indifferent. So this might imply that there are certain things that you do love about astrology. Do you?
No, I just don't know anything about astrology
Ah.
other than I'm a Taurus. Like I don't understand why somebody would get so absorbed in astrology. I guess it's sort of like another religion in a way, like it's a spirituality, right? So if I hear somebody say I don't believe in God, but I'm spiritual, I take that to mean I'm into astrology, right? Like I'm into
Yeah, and
the
crystals
meaning of life and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't know anything about it. You guys seem to know more than me. So I don't know. Is there any relevancy to it? Is there anything?
What's that one religion though, real quick, where you're supposedly eating the body of some guy,
Never heard of it.
drinking his blood, and
sounds vaguely familiar. Something I grew up my entire childhood hearing all the time.
I'll make sure to stay away from that one. But
yeah.
it feels like, I mean, I don't want to poo-poo astrology same way I don't want to poo-poo Christianity, but it all, in my mind, it all kind of gets lumped into the same category, really. It's just
Yeah,
astrology is
with
looked
that.
down upon more.
Yeah, and like it seems way more harmless for how much more it gets hated on.
Yeah, that's right. And okay, so then do you guys ever check out those little scrolls, those little horoscopes?
No.
Oh, they were so cute. You would like unravel them and they're just like, today if you're a Libra, this will happen, or like your lucky numbers are this or something, I think. Yeah, it's
Talking
been a
about
while.
fortune cookies.
They're very close. Yeah.
Oh.
And I do believe fortune cookies is an American thing, isn't it? Isn't that the weird thing? Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah. What about tarot cards? Huh?
I looked into that. Like I grew up, like my mom was really into like almost everything. Really. Like I know some like runes stuff and numerology and stuff like that. Like I try to be a jack of all trades as well, John. Or a John.
Yeah.
I just ended up being a John of all trades.
Oh, that's the worst.
So that's all lumped together under astrology, tarot cards and all that. That's all.
No, I don't know if I'd call it part of astrology, but I'd put it in a similar, like, not paranormal, but
spirituality,
spirituality, yeah.
Believing in something that we cannot comprehend. Or
I mean,
control.
what I would call it is like pseudoscience, or like,
yeah.
But like, I don't know. I'm kind of like I don't believe in any of it myself, but I think it's fairly harmless. So
Fairly harmless, right?
don't really like it sucks when people are using it to scam other people and that kind of thing, but I don't think that's the norm for people who practice.
And it also seemed like it was a thing, a pickup line back in the day. Like they're like, what's your sign? Because yeah, again, like you're supposed to be compatible with certain things. I'm not sure if Libras can get with another Libra. I don't know if that's like brother and sister or something.
Ew,
Yeah.
sick.
Although the Royals did it all the time, so.
And look at them. They're thriving.
I kind of want to go back to the other Aaron Rodgers thing, the torture chamber that he's putting himself in. Like
solitude.
Yeah, like there was. You guys ever see the Vsauce YouTube series?
No.
It's like science stuff. Okay, well, this is even less relevant then. But anyway, there was a guy who did a video where he put himself into like basically like an isolation chamber, and I think it was only for like 72 hours or something, and it like seriously messed with him in that time, and it was like literal torture and stuff, and like all the studies that show what happened to people who go into like solitary confinement and all that. Like,
wow.
Is what Rogers is talking about like that level of like self-isolation?
Yeah. So he's on the Pat McAfee show. He's on the Pat McAfee podcast show every Tuesday or most Tuesdays. So he was there today talking about that's what he's going to do at some point in the next couple of weeks. He's actually going to go to this place that he found out about, and he's going to go into solitary confinement for 4 days and 4 nights.
And like, does that mean like no books, like no
nothing? There's just like a slot that somebody will give you food through. I'm sure, I don't know if it's just concrete, but maybe there's a couch to sit on or something.
Oh yeah, but I mean, even if there is like like I guess the slot might be, I don't know, like I remember the video, the guy was like entertaining himself by like counting how many water bottles he had and stuff, even though it wasn't like time tracking or anything, but it was like literally the only interactive thing he had. And
I mean, I guess the idea is you're just alone with your thoughts. There's zero distractions, so thoughts become clear. Aaron Rodgers mentioned supposedly people can hallucinate while they're doing this as their mind wanders, but I don't know. This is how he wants to clear his mind and decide what he wants to do in the future. So go for it, Aaron.
Yeah. Again, I guess not hurting anybody else. So
I don't know.
Could you? I almost want to look up what sign Aaron Rodgers is. I mean, this could have all been foretold.
He's born in December. I know that.
Oh shit! I don't remember any of that.
Humbug.
But didn't Brett Favre kind of spiral in crazy directions after he kind of peaked with the Packers and shit like that, right?
Well, he didn't go in these directions. Let's see, what happened to him? Well, there was the whole dick pic thing. There was, so there's the whole welfare scam thing that's going on now. I don't know if you know anything about that, but supposedly he somehow, knowingly or unknowingly, that's the question, but somehow he got some funds to go from some sort of welfare fund. He funneled that over to paying for like a new volleyball court, new stadium for the college where his daughter attended, I guess, something along those lines. But anyway, there's a whole welfare fraud thing going on there. And what else did Brett Favre get into? Wrangler commercials? Gross.
Point is, kids, don't play football because the CTE.
The CTE.
Yeah. All right, should we move on?
Sure, we can move on.
John, you want to go? I could go.
Sure. I hate influencer style product sponsorships. And by that, I mean the kind of sponsorship where they're not disclosing that it's a sponsorship, where people are just basically saying like, oh, I love these new headphones, best headphones I ever had. And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll look into those sometime. And then like you hear like the next person like on a different video, like the next day, like, wow, I just gotta say, got these new headphones and I am loving them. And like, okay, well, yeah, that's a sponsorship. So then like you just kind of realize like, well, if someone's online, I can't really trust their opinion on products at least. And then like there's been sponsorships for like movies and shows and stuff too. So it's like, okay, well, yeah, I don't know.
How are you watching these? Because mine are through I guess YouTube, because like, like people who review movies will do that, or although that's a lot more right on Front Street, like they're like, this is
Yeah.
a product that we're selling you.
Yeah, I guess I don't see it too much myself. Like the YouTube sponsorships and stuff are typically like clearly like an ad break, or podcasts you listen to, they're clearly an ad. It's more, I'm seeing this vicariously through my wife watching like Instagram stuff. That happens a lot where, she'll tell me like, wow, this new vitamin must have like be doing sponsorships because I've just heard about it in 3 different videos and like that kind of stuff.
Oh
I don't know
man.
if I ever notice it too much, to be quite honest with you. Or I think I just don't pay attention to any of that. I just kind of see everything as an ad, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe that's the way my brain is. I don't know. I don't know. Pretty indifferent.
Is it the fact that, I mean, do you find yourself kind of like getting, I think you said that, like the first time you're like, oh, maybe those headphones are cool. And then you just hate the fact that you got, you were sold one, that they're so smooth. It was so natural. You know what I mean? Like, is that what upsets you?
Yeah, I guess I don't mind it as much on a personal level, but I just think it's another thing that's just horrible for the world that social media is doing to us. Like just not having, like if you look at like where television commercials are, and like there's just fine print on every single shot because either it's a professional driver in a closed course, or screen images are simulated, or um it's a actor portrayal or whatever. Like there's so much like regulation on like making sure that they're not misrepresenting anything. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you just see people who are like pretending they're avid users of a product because somebody's paying them with like no disclosure at all. um I just find that problematic.
Hmm.
I think I just really kind of hate influencers in general. I don't know. I kind of hate that that's a thing. And why did that have to become a thing? Well, I know why it became a thing, because that's the next wave in advertising, right? I mean, that's a necessary evil for the way things work, the way we pay for the internet. There's Vince, it is what it is. Okay. Stop. Don't. I wasn't even going to say it till you flashed 5 fingers at me.
I was doing a turkey for you, man.
But I just that is the way things are these days. And it's kind of a shame, but just the idea that anybody can be an influencer, just because you've got tens of thousands of followers on some sort of platform. I don't know. I just kind of hate that whole idea.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I don't want to do it on ours, but I also want to say, like, I'm really glad that all our episodes have been able to be uploaded through the website Anchor. I don't know. I personally am so relieved that a website were to offer their platform to us, and I'm forever grateful.
Yes, use Anchor, everybody.
Actually, you know what? They actually say if you say our name in your episode, and you get traffic, they'll actually like pay you and stuff. But I'm like, I don't know how to work that in naturally, and no one's no one's listening anyways. So
do you know what I love? I love boat anchors. They're so important.
I love HTML anchors.
Oh yeah, anchors.
You can click a link and it brings you somewhere else on that same page. That's cool.
What?
I like sailor tattoos
Of anchors,
yes.
especially.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? Right away, John. How do you feel about selling out? I mean, that's a whole topic for me. But do you consider them selling out, or is it like that was their job to begin with? Influencers.
Selling out is fine. Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just disclose advertisement starting now. And then...
Say it like that, advertisement. Money on the table.
It's just like the products doing the advertising is like, if your business model can't survive people knowing that they're being advertised to, then maybe you should rethink your product or service.
Yeah, Anchor. Moving on.
Yes.
I will go. Okay, so I want to go into my indifference. This news has been out, I don't know how long. But scientists are going to clone the dodo and the woolly mammoth. Now, first of all, this is an indifference. Well, first, it's like, oh shit, clone, bring back these extinct animals. And I've always been I think I'm fond of the dodo, mostly through Alice in Wonderland. But the woolly mammoth, I'm like, oh, they were huge, but
they were huge in the last ice age.
Yes. Sounded like Romano. Said, no. But the things I remember is that the dodo was considered very dumb back in the day. And for better or worse, mostly worse, fucking horrible humans would walk up and take out their knife, and the dodo would be like, hey, how's it going? And then just fucking get killed. They wouldn't get out of the way of moving vehicles or horses or whatever. They were like considered very dumb. And then the woolly mammoth, fucking, that's gigantic, and it's gonna require so much food to eat, but also it's a herd animal, isn't it? I mean, well, we don't know, but I thought it was. So then you're gonna have to come up with another one, unless who knows if it even gets along with elephants? If you try and maybe he's like, fuck, he just kills all the fucking elephants. I don't know. I think plus, this is crazy.
Like the mammoth, an animal that thrived in the last ice age, being reintroduced at a time when the planet is like every year is hotter than the previous.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, it would be in the Antarctic or whatever and make friends with penguins and polar bears and such, right?
Is that what's gonna are we gonna just move it up there?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about this.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything recent. I remember the last time I heard about it was years ago, and it was just like, can we? Should we? And that was all I heard. Like, have you heard that they're actually more serious about doing it?
Yeah. Yeah, it just came out recently, and like even Bob and Tom show are talking about it and shit like that. It's just making the rounds on podcasts, I've noticed. Much like a product, they're being sold. Holy shit. But I don't know, Matt, how do you feel about these? Do you guys, what do you feel about the dodo?
Was not expecting that question tonight. I don't know. I find cloning in general a cool concept. What direction are we going with cloning? What good will come of the world with cloning? I don't know. I'm pretty indifferent to the idea of bringing back the dodo and the woolly mammoth and any extinct animal. I don't really necessarily see the point or the need for any of that. But if it's some way to advance cloning technology, that's cool. But where's that advancement going to lead to? I don't know.
I thought, I mean, I think because the dodo and it's so funny that they're gonna clone two species. It's again, it's like being sold. Like they're like a dodo. All right, maybe there's some Alice in Wonderland fans out there, but the woolly mammoth, holy shit, you know. So these two about to be cloned. I don't know. I would prefer bringing back the Tasmanian tiger because that was just fucking poached to death. I mean, so was the dodo, but like again, they were considered very dumb. So that's very odd to choose them. I don't know.
I'd go for the American chestnut tree.
Was that
Odd.
They don't exist. And remember, chestnuts used to be a big Christmas thing.
wait,
And
they're gone? I didn't
yeah,
know
like that type of chestnut doesn't exist anymore. And
Oh.
the ones we have now are an inferior facsimile.
Okay. Well, I also heard that like bananas, well, like what we're eating is just kind of like a mutated version of what bananas were. Let's bring back some of those nanners. Huh.
Well,
I don't
actually,
know.
those are all clones too, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like
that's all
all
GMO
banana
stuff.
trees are genetically identical because they just keep like grafting the same one over and over again or something.
Shit. My gosh. Yeah, I think I don't know. My main thing is I would feel bad for the mammoth. I think that he's gonna like, where's all my friends and shit? Like I'm a herd animal, and yeah, it's hot as fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, like I definitely don't have a reaction like, oh, you're playing God or it's a crime against nature or anything like that. But I do think it's very important to consider the livelihood and well-being of the animals you want to bring back and then the environments you're putting them into.
Agreed.
We need a lot of bees. Let's clone some bees.
Agreed.
Right.
So, how do you clone such a thing as a woolly mammoth? Do you know any of the science behind it, Vince?
I thought it was like the not the amber thing, mosquito blood.
Dino DNA.
Yeah. uh no, I don't know. I think that maybe they found like preserved piece. Maybe it's from the hair. I don't know. No idea.
Big mystery.
Mastodon. I wonder if that's the same type, you know, of mammoth.
Same type.
Yeah, the mastodon. I'm
Got a
not
type.
talking metal. Yeah. All right, so moving on to Matt.
Sure. Let's see. Let's do my hate. I am not a fan of Woody Allen, the filmmaker. I know Vince at least likes Woody Allen, or his favorite movie is Annie Hall. So I don't know if this is going to be a controversial topic for Vince, or he's going to want to defend Woody Allen. But
That never
find
popped
out.
in your head once before writing this.
I'm just putting it out there for the viewer.
This was
man.
not motivation at all.
No, I genuinely don't like Woody Allen. Okay. I got a list of his movies here. We're just going to start with the movies, right? So Annie Hall is his best movie. It's a good movie.
Seen it.
Midnight in Paris is good. Bullets Over Broadway,
Nope.
good.
Nope.
Blue Jasmine, I liked. Everyone Says I Love You, I sort of liked.
Nope.
And then I've seen 9 other movies of his that I really didn't care for at all, including such classics as Manhattan, Hannah and Her Sisters, Crimes and Misdemeanors was the other big one that's supposed to be this classic. I don't understand Woody Allen, but a big thing here is of those movies that I liked, 3 of them don't even star Woody Allen. I don't think I like Woody Allen as an actor, that neurotic Jew energy going on.
Oh.
That's what he calls himself, neurotic Jew. So I feel like I could say it. I don't know. But
I'd still be careful.
but yeah, I don't find it appealing. I find it repetitive. And Annie Hall was good because it was playful and it was funny, whereas something like Manhattan doesn't have the same playfulness. And in some of these movies, he comes off as creepy. And guess what? In real life, he comes off as kind of creepy, including marrying I forget her name, but it's not his stepdaughter, but it was let's see, the adopted daughter of
Mia Farrow?
Mia Farrow. Thank you. I was trying to think of her name. So he marries this woman that's, let's see, she would have been like 18 or 19 at the time, and he's in his 50s, or what was it, 60s? I don't know, whatever. The dude's a creep. The dude's a creep. Now, I don't think any of the allegations, the sexual abuse allegations, I don't think anything has really come of that, but it's, still kind of hanging out there. It's smoke to the fire, whatever. But I'm not into the dude as a person. I don't really care for his movies overall. What does everybody else think?
I think John should go.
Yeah, haven't seen many of his movies. I've seen Annie Hall and I liked it. I saw, wasn't there one like Everything You Want to Know About Sex or something like that?
Yes, but
Yeah.
we're afraid to ask.
But I was afraid to ask. And yeah, it was pretty funny. Not, I don't know, I don't remember much of it, but I think I've seen a random other one or two, but I don't remember anything about him. I don't know. He's kind of like, basically when I learned about how much of a creep he was, I just kind of didn't really seek out any of his stuff after that. So I don't know.
Yeah. And that's how you sum up Woody Allen's career. Okay, well, I was, before I knew about the allegations, I was a gigantic fan of Woody Allen. And Matt, if you liked Annie Hall because it had the more goofier stuff, the more comedic bits, then his stuff before that is really good. Like Take the Money and Run, Bananas, Sleeper. Oh man, those are really funny. They're really fun too. Lighthearted, cartoonish, But then, Annie Hall happened and he got kind of like a little bit more serious. The 80s, I think, all his Mia Farrow stuff I didn't really care for, and maybe because Woody Allen was distracted, I don't know. It's just horrible. His career started to repetitive, right? From a writer's point of view, I admire the man. And it's just through the art, obviously. What he did was terrible. But on the printed page, he wrote and directed and produced a movie from 1977 to 2020 every year. Isn't that nuts? I mean, yeah. Some get lost in the shuffle, but
a lot get lost in the shuffle.
Match Point, that's when he revitalized his career. When he moved to Europe, and then he, Midnight in Paris and all the newer stuff, Victoria, Barcelona, and Christie or something like that. But that's all I can say. I can't. It's one of the worst things in terms of all my favorite artists. It's horrible. It's bad. I don't know. I talked to my friend Scott about it because we covered this in a Recollection, Manhattan. And he was just like, well, I know plenty of musicians that are horrible and I still listen to their music and they still get me through the day and shit. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's ultimately what it is for me. I'm just not a fan of his movies. A lot of it just feels like rich white people problems. A lot of it really does. I have seen Bananas and it's a farce and it was okay. I guess I really didn't care for it overall. I find him repetitive. I think that's a common theme. Just all of his movies feel very similar to me. I shouldn't say all of them, because something like Midnight in Paris felt fresh. It felt different. And ultimately, yes, I can separate the man from his art, and I don't care for either of them. So that's why we are where we are.
All the different variations. That's wonderful. All right, moving on to me or John.
I think it's me.
Yeah.
I'll go with my love, which is video game ROM hacks, which I suspect is something neither of you had come across before. I'm not sure, but basically the idea is that people take like an original cartridge from like a Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game, and they like pull the code off of it, and then they tweak it, and then they make something new out of it. So, that could be something as simple as just, updating the artwork, making the characters and stuff look different. Somewhere in the middle would be just like moving things around to create new levels and stuff. So like all the objects are still work the same, but you have new levels that they design, all the way to like completely adding new mechanics in the game, and like changing how things work and adding stuff. And I've played quite a few of these. I've played a lot of the NES ones more than anything else, because they just kind of breathe life into a classic game that you've played it all 100 times, but now here's some new levels for it, or here's some new things for it. And I sent out a specific example, a game called Super Mario 3 Mix, where like that one like is the most impressive Super Mario 3 ROM hack that I've seen, where they added new power-ups to the game, all new levels, like you can revisit levels with different objectives, like they ported music from like modern Mario games into it, but and this all like runs on the NES hardware too still, like it still works as an NES game.
And they brought elements from a bunch of different Mario games to this version of it, so it feels like a mashup of everything everybody loves about Mario, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then like another big theme people do with it is something called Kaizo, which is basically like it's usually Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. And they just make like levels that are just extremely difficult to execute. Like it's some of the hardest things I've seen people do in video games just to like beat a normal level of the game. And it's usually made in such a way that there's only like one path through the level, and you just have to kind of execute things, not always, but sometimes like pixel perfect, just to get stuff right. And when they do it properly and you see the speed run of it, it's just super impressive, because it's just everything comes together. If it's a well-designed level, exactly how it needs to for things to just like smoothly flow through the game. And like it's pretty often like when I'm working that I just on my monitor I have just a Twitch streamer playing whatever random Kaizo Mario levels he's been playing throughout the day, and I just kind of have that on in the background while I'm working.
Like when I think of that, I think the classic one is in Mario, where you get the line of fireballs, and then it goes around in like a pinwheel pattern. It just kind of circles around.
Yeah.
So I've seen levels where this is just all over the place. And yes, you're right. You got to be pixel perfect as you're making your way through all that. I think that's the classic example. That's what I've seen multiple times.
Is it the so there's a game that came out, it was like Mario World Builder or Mario Level Maker, like you've seen that. Was that
Yep.
Do you think that was a response to what was already happening with the hacking, or what?
Yeah, definitely the hacking was around first, and I think it was a response to that. But interestingly, like the Mario Maker ended up being a fad, and the people who got into that are now into like ROM hacking, basically. So they kind of like reached the limitations of what the Mario Maker games could do, and now are like have moved on to the next level, basically.
Are you able to do such a thing, John?
So I've played around a little bit, like trying to do ROM hacking, and I did like some little gimmicky things, but like never certainly anything I would release, just enough to kind of play around with it, understand how it works, and then not have the patience or ambition to actually do anything for real with it. As far as playing the games, I've played a ton of the like kind of normal difficulty ROM hacks. And I've started a few like Kaizo ones, but I just don't have the patience to get good at that and play those. But they're definitely fun to watch.
I've never done ROM hacking, but I've modded up some more modern games. The biggest one being Skyrim. Like there's a gigantic community of people that just make mods for games like Skyrim and Oblivion and all these Bethesda games, but so many PC games. So I find that fun. I find it fun to get the right mods in place and then play it for 30 minutes and then abandon it. That's kind of my thing. And then mod it up again and see what the hell else you can make out of it. But that's my experience with this sort of idea.
And then another big category is the randomizer. So you'll take something like The Legend of Zelda and A Link to the Past. The Super Nintendo one is probably the main one for this too. And it basically just shuffles around where all the items are. So like, like normally, oh, here's where I get the sword, here's where I get the bow and arrow, whatever. They're all in different places. But there's like, they create logic in the randomizer so that, like it works out so that you can at least get to it. Like you're not going to be like hard locked because you're blocked from getting to an item you need.
And it's still, I'm guessing it's still difficult to get to certain items though too.
Right? Yeah, I mean it definitely can be. But then there's like options for it because like some people who know the game really well know all the glitches and stuff. So they're like, oh well, I know how I can get to this area even if I don't have the swimming flippers yet or something. So then, you can make it like extremely hard mode, like, oh yeah, I'm prepared to do whatever glitch it takes and just put anything anywhere, basically. And there's like races and contests and all kinds of stuff for that too. You like start out with the same random seed, so you get all stuff in the same place, but then you're like going into it blind and trying to figure out where everything is and beat the game eventually.
I think I made something close with Halo. You could like place, all those items like vehicles and crates and stuff, and you could kind of like set it up so it's like in midair, because people were making Ninja Warrior courses out of Halo maps, and I wanted to do that so badly. Yeah, it's hard though.
Yeah, I've done my share of doing custom made maps for various games too. I've kind of dabbled in that whole world, but yeah, ROM hacking, it seems like you're diving into the code and you need to understand what the code does. So that's half the battle is just
and it's all assembly because it was written 30 years ago.
Yeah. So are there resources out there where if you want to ROM hack some game, like somebody's already mapped out what all the code does?
Yeah, so there's disassemblies if you actually want to write code yourself, and there's tools too. Like there's literally like graphical like level editors for like Super Mario World and stuff, where you basically just feed it the normal like default ROM, and then you can make whatever changes you want in like a Mario Maker like tool. So they like the community has really created all kinds of stuff just to make it easier for everyone else who doesn't want to get into the code.
Well, okay, so but when they do this, it's just for them. It's not like they put their version of the game, and now you could go and play it on a website.
Yeah, so basically they create patches. So you can't ship any of the actual game code because it's all IP, but what I can ship is a file that says this is the difference between the default game and what I created. I'm only going to send you the differences. And then there's a tool, and you would have the ROM on your machine, however you have it, and you just apply this patch to it, and then you have the game that I created.
Wow, that's cool. That's sweet.
Interesting. I like this world. I like it. Wouldn't say I love it.
No.
No, that's cool.
Should we go on?
Yeah, it's to you.
We got some time here. Okay, let's get into space travel. I hate space travel.
Oh boy, this is going to take an hour. Maybe we should cut it short.
First of all, you gotta to train. You gotta go in that fucking machine where they spin you. Fuck that. No, it's just I don't know. At first, I was like, oh, well, I'm indifferent to space travel because I have no desire to go on the moon. Really, I mean, maybe when I was a child for like 2 days or something. I don't know, but the whole travel, like just being up there and stuff. After like every once in a while, you hear about stuff like. Didn't they tell the president they're like we basically drink our own piss, like we recycle the piss? Um,
You
and
think that water you're drinking has never been piss?
yeah, but no one, yeah, but I'm not living with like the with those people and stuff like that. The other
Those
thing
people.
is, yeah,
This is Jim's piss.
I can tell with hints of
Jim,
Dave.
did you have to eat the freeze-dried asparagus?
You get osteoporosis, man. Your bones will get brittle up there. And then you're fucking the smell. You're gonna feel like Agent Smith. You're like, it's the smell. You fucking, because there's nowhere for all the scents to go. So you're gonna one fart on day one will be with you until you leave. And it's not.
There's no air purifiers going on here, or it's just it's the whole water recycling thing all over. It's just air, right?
Yeah, and then
what's the science behind the osteoporosis? I've never heard this before.
I think it has to do with the lack of gravity. I don't.
Yeah, I think so. Like basically, like your bones get strengthened by just jostling around all the time. So when you're walking and like bumping into things and stuff, like every time you do that, it's strengthening your bones.
Okay.
Bumping into stuff.
I'll buy that.
Oh, the other thing though. Okay, so to try and fight that osteoporosis thing, exercise. You got to exercise, right? But then, and this is what disgusts me the most, is like you'll forever have like a thin film of sweat on you because it's not really going to leave, like even if you're not doing anything, you might perspire a little bit and it's just on you. And I fucking hate, the humidity. I'd never go down south for a number of reasons, but one of them is the humidity, the humanity. I don't like being in like where you feel like you're swimming in the humanness. No thanks.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I read this book called Packing for Mars by Mary Roach, and she's talking about all this stuff. Have you read that?
No.
Anyway, it has a lot of these points in it. And one of the things she said is like, people are like, oh yeah, in the medieval times, they didn't like change or they didn't like bathe all the time and stuff. Like, and they were fine. And then, but it's like, even if you're not taking a bath, like changing your clothes makes a huge difference. And like if you're stuck like in a set of clothes inside of like a spacesuit or whatever, like that's gonna get really gross really quick. And yeah.
Would you guys go into space?
I don't know. I'd have to put some thought into that. But I wanted to mention there's probably an aspect to it too, where you get out of Earth's atmosphere and then you look through the little viewfinder window and then you see the Earth and you're in awe. And you're in awe for like 20 minutes and then you're off doing something. Then you come back and you're still in awe. But then that's gonna fade, the next day. You're not in awe anymore. So then you're just up in space. There's definitely that sort of aspect going on. So I didn't know you were going to go like the physical act of space travel. I was just thinking more the general idea of space travel. I'm kind of indifferent to just the general idea of space travel. I know it's exciting to know what's out there and it could lead to incredible discoveries, important discoveries, things that could save humanity potentially. But I am just indifferent to it. Well, I guess I'm more indifferent to the idea of, okay, we've destroyed Earth, so now we need to colonize Mars or something like that. I think that's a shit idea. I hate that idea. But yeah, I'd say overall I'm indifferent to all of it.
What about you, Jet?
So
Would you go up there?
I would like so let's assume like space tourism becomes safe and affordable. I'd be down for something like that. Definitely not going through like what our existing astronauts have gone through. I'm not really a fan of that idea. But if you could like somehow teleport me to the moon and I could like stumble around on, in low gravity and stuff, I think that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, like getting there would suck.
True. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it. And I think
But I'm a big fan of other people wanting to do it. And like I hope we do set up Mars colonies and all that. Because I agree, I don't like the idea of like, oh, let's just wreck this planet and get a different one. However, there are things that could happen to our planet that are not our fault or beyond our control, where it would be nice to not have all of humanity's eggs on this basket.
I see your point. I see your point. What about the idea of a generation ship where, for whatever reason, Earth has been destroyed, so everybody gets on a gigantic ship and we set it for cruise control to some distant galaxy, and it's going to take hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands of years, and just generations are cycled through on the ship until eventually you reach your destination. I think that's a cool, awesome sci-fi concept, but that's a little scary.
Yeah, and like the kids who are born on the ship and stuff, like they won't know any different. You know what I mean? Like that's the crazy part. Like I was born on this ship, I was raised on this ship, and I'll die on this ship.
I'm not getting on that planet. Yeah, you finally get there. Nobody wants to get off. Like, we have all we need here. We don't know what's out there.
Moving
Sure.
That's
to me. Or
That's
should we stop?
you.
Should we stop?
No,
We should probably
go-
stop.
No, we can do one more.
Okay. So I was going through a little project here. I was getting together my favorite albums, and I kind of wanted to do like top 10 and then expanded to top 20, and then I kind of ended up with like 30. But then I realized I want to eventually talk about some or all of these. Then I realized, well, 5 of these are Tom Waits albums, so I should probably start getting into some Tom Waits albums here. So I want to talk about my love for Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. This is it's sort of a mainstream breakout for him, where he had a couple little minor hits in here, but it was really the first album where his kind of outrageous strangeness kind of took a foothold. His previous album before that, Swordfish Trombones, was experimental and strange, but this really hit a nice groove, a nice balance. And this was the first album that really got me into Tom Waits back in college, where I had a whole bunch of Tom Waits music, and I'm like, all right, well, this is one that a lot of people point to, so I'm going to start there. And I was hooked from then on. So this is one I go back to a lot. Did you guys get a chance to listen? What'd you think?
Yeah, I've listened to Rain Dogs a ton of times, and I think I learned about it from you probably years ago, and I've been a huge fan of it. Yeah, just overall like weird and great, and has a song about Minneapolis, so gotta love that.
Ninth and Hennepin.
Oh wow.
Vince, did you get a chance?
Yes, I listened to this album for the research. I remember I had weird feelings about it because I remember you listening to Tom Waits occasionally, and I'm like, this guy sounds like a Muppet.
Yes, he does.
But I listened to plenty of shit with weird ass singers and stuff like that, and really, like, I did enjoy it a lot. But it also reminded me of like Bob Dylan albums. The very kind of freewheeling weird shit. Yeah. And the voices, I ended up liking the voice. He does like different types of voices though. He can croon, he can stuff like that. And it's really It just seems fun. Like it made me like put some batteries on my keyboard and try a little something because it just had that feeling of like, hey, here's this little cool little piano thing, and we'll just put that on and we'll build from there. And it's like I don't know if it's punk, but more sophisticated, just fun. I really liked it. And but outside of Rain Dogs, don't ruin it for me, Matt, but what's the other album that could be like this? I don't want to go into super weird shit. I want to go into like a little bit more like Rain Dogs.
Well, it's hard to recommend anything without going into super weird shit. I would say Mule Variations would be a good one. It's kind of in the same vibe. It's more of I'd say it's leaning more towards the bluesy side of things, but yeah, Mule Variations would be the next one. But yeah, I mean, Rain Dogs is like the perfect blend of blues and jazz and weird instrumentation. There's plenty of Tom Waits quotes out there about the various instruments he's created to make various sounds. There's even a Stone Cold Country song on there, which is Stone Blind Love, which is it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I don't care for country music, but it's fine. There's just something about the way this dude goes about his business. He doesn't follow any trends. He's just doing his own thing, and he doesn't care if his voice sounds like gravel. He doesn't care at all. And there's like a famous Tom Waits quote, like, I love beautiful melodies telling me terrible things. And that's a lot. Like when you start to get into some of his piano ballads, which there's a couple slower songs on here, but some of his albums have some real slow piano ballads, and it's always great to dig into the lyrics and just figure out what the hell this guy's barking about, because that's what he's doing. He's barking a lot of times. But yeah, go ahead.
That album came in useful for me on a camping trip where someone was just trying to figure out like what does 3/4 time mean, and I'm like, oh, you have Rain Dogs, right? And there's the one song that has like the waltzy beat to it. I can't remember which one it is, but helped illustrate that particular musical theory.
Good, awesome.
I thought it was gonna like help you mend a bad ankle or something. I really liked it. I think it was just like a spoken word poem that he does. It was very movie like.
Ninth and Hennepin, I'm guessing.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Oh, that's the same one, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where all the donuts have names that sounds like prostitutes. Yeah. Yeah.
Good shit.
Nothing wrong with her. $100 won't fix. Yeah, I'm going to be bringing up other Tom Waits albums. Maybe I'll give it some time, but we're going to dig into more. I expect you to get some more Pink Floyd albums out into the mix, so I'm forced to listen to that.
Tom Waits.
We just finished Tom Waits. Or we can
keep
if you want to.
Is it me? And talking about my insecurities and indifferences.
Okay.
My indifference is public speaking. I don't really mind it. I don't get off on it like some people do.
Splat.
But I've with my job at work, I have to like do trainings and presentations and stuff, and sometimes I have to like give a presentation to multiple hundreds of people, and it's fine. Like I don't necessarily look forward to it, but I don't necessarily dread it either, I guess. I don't know. It's just kind of the only reason I bring it up because I know like for a lot of people it's like their biggest fear is public speaking, and yeah, it's just kind of whatever.
Do you feel more powerful after you give a good quality presentation? Do you feel great about yourself?
If there's like good feedback and stuff and people are participating and it seems like it was useful, I feel good about that. Yeah.
Do you think people look at you differently after you give a good presentation? Does that make you feel good?
I feel like there's those in my company who see me as sort of a god figure.
Well, that's good. At least you're humble about it.
Uh, what?
I
Yeah.
go ahead,
Go on.
Vince. Go ahead. Yeah, that
Oh,
you go. No, you go.
okay.
Me.
I insist. I insist.
All right, I'll go. So I am pretty indifferent to public speaking. I
Oh, this
really
was worth it. I was gonna go another direction.
what? Okay, John's indifferent. I am also indifferent. I haven't had that many opportunities to do public speaking. I had a work presentation a few years ago, which kind of a little nerve-wracking and whatnot, but it went pretty well. And then, I did the best man speech at my brother's wedding, but I think that's the only two times I've done it in the past handful of years. So I don't do it very often. It is somewhat nerve-wracking, but I think once you get the first couple sentences out, I think it's all pretty good. And once you're done with it, that sense of relief is nice. Like, I don't have to worry about that speech anymore. And I've gotten pretty decent feedback whenever I've had the opportunities. So I still would prefer not to do it, but I'm kind of indifferent to it.
I think basically it helps with the three of us because we were a little not class clowns, but something similar to that, where we were joking around, and I think part of that means that you want some sort of attention, and so I think that's why we're probably, like, all three of us are in fact indifferent to it. I don't think I've like taught, where you have to like teach the class in high school. I did that, and that's like the closest, most like, this is an hour-long sort of thing, so that sort of thing.
Do you remember who your author was in Mrs. Greshner's
Thurber.
class?
Yeah, Thurber, whatever that. Yeah, and actually that might be a future topic, actually.
Oh,
I have some thoughts about that. Fucking hated him.
Tapakada. Is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Were you in that class, John? I don't remember.
I was in one of them. I don't remember if I was in yours or not.
Matt, were you in mine?
I don't remember if I was in your class. No, I don't remember.
But I mean, okay, so we were, funny in classes and shit. So I feel like that's a little bit ego there. And
Speak for yourself.
We made skits, and we did things where we had to perform before, like singing. So that's a little bit, that kind of edges you towards public speaking.
Oh, it's edging me right now.
Yes. So I think that's why we're kind of okay with it. It's not something we're going to run towards, but
yeah, you're probably right. I remember, so you just brought up what grade was it that we had to teach the class? I think it was 10th grade, sophomore year. That sounds right. But I remember in my class, I was the first one that had to do it. I drew the short straw, I guess. So I had like 2 weeks to prepare this presentation or whatever it happened to be. But I was the first one, and I was really nervous about that because I was kind of the guinea pig. Kind of whatever you end up doing, other people will maybe kind of follow your lead, essentially. So I remember that's the most I ever studied in high school ever was trying to do this presentation, because I had to talk for an hour or present for an hour in front of the class, and I knew nothing about the author. I forget the author I even did. But yeah, you brought back terrible memories, Vince.
John, did you do that as well in Miss Gershner's, or whatever her name was?
Yeah.
Greshner?
James Michener was my author.
I had a Chinese author, but I can't remember his name.
Neat.
Do you guys remember that? I don't know who introduced it. Maybe it was Matt, but someone went first and they had candy with them.
That was not me.
And then, like, whoever would get a question right, they would just like toss them a piece of candy, and like everyone did that and stuff. Well, I turned it on its head when it was my turn.
Oh no.
Every time I was like, So who could name me James Thurber's third wife or something like that? And they're like, oh, that was Priscilla, his inspiration. I'm like, awesome. I take the candy, unwrap it, and I eat it. I'm like, oh, it's good.
Hey,
That was
boy.
fun.
Public speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking of when you asked, when it is weird, like being someone who gives a bunch of presentations at work, how like people will know me, but they were just another face in the crowd. So like people come up to me and like then I feel bad for not knowing them or whatever. And like that's kind of awkward.
I feel that all day, every day. Well, not all day, every day, but I get that a lot. Like that's an awkward thing. That's a different topic, right? That's yeah, I should know you and I should know your name, but I don't, so I'm not going to try.
It's hilarious because you work at home.
Well, I mean, you're at a party or a wedding or something. You're supposed to know everybody's name or most people's name, and I'm terrible with names.
Yeah, me too, but with faces.
No, okay.
So wait, all three of us are like this because I get approached by cousins who I haven't seen since I was like 5 years old. And I'll be like, I'm like fucking 38 right now. And they're like, Vince? And I'm like, what? They just like remember me or they know me. And I'm like, I have no fucking idea. So I don't know. But
my
that's
wife
more like...
is amazing with faces where we'll be like at the store or something and she'll be like, oh, look who that is. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you worked with Jeff 12 years ago? And he brought his brother came along to a work outing one time. Like, that's his brother. I go, oh, okay. Wow.
That was pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, actually, I do remember faces. I think the family thing is just because they all live in like Green Bay or something like that. They all live somewhere else. But if I run into them, I mean, I won't know them, but they will just remember me instantly. It's crazy. But outside of that, though, I am a face man. Yeah, one of the coolest things.
I can tell.
As opposed to the ass man.
Yeah.
So maybe
I left that in my past,
yeah.
actually, behind me. Yeah.
Maybe these cousins just talk about you behind your back. So maybe you're just a topic of conversation. You come up every so often, once a year at some sort of family gathering. Like, oh yeah, I remember Vince. What a jerk off that guy was. So
it's all possible, man. I'm not gonna rule anything out. All right, moving on to something.
To you.
To me. Oh,
the finale. Right. Better be good.
The grand finale, I hope.
Oh my gosh, the grand poobah finale. All right, my love is Best of the Worst, an online show by Red Letter Media. Before I mentioned Deja Vu, where I'm like, oh, I got my movies stolen and then I couldn't watch movies. I just watch reviews. This is basically where I go to for almost all my movie stuff, just because they're very funny. They're filmmakers themselves, so they could speak the lingo, and I kind of understand what they're saying, but the show covers bad movies in particular, like B movies and shit that's just like bad production, bad acting and stuff like that. So if you're into that, this is a real treat. And then Best of the Worst in particular is a preference because they have all sorts of shows. There's like just two guys on Half in the Bag, and they'll do these things, but it's Best of the Worst where you get like a sense of camaraderie with like all the people that are there. They're also from Milwaukee, which is a nice little thing. You're like, oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys get that way at all, but if someone... Yeah, right? Like, I'm a big fan of that Matt Hagen. He's in that show, My Movie Recollection.
Oh, yeah.
And then, okay, but so they watch usually 3 terrible movies. They review them. They show themselves cracking jokes while they're watching the film and stuff like that. And then they end on a Best of the Worst, which they choose out of the three, but then the worst they destroy at the end, and it's usually pretty funny. And yeah, have you guys heard of these dudes?
So I've been vaguely aware of the existence of Red Letter Media. I feel like didn't they? Well, they probably have a lot to say about everything, but in particular, like the Star Wars prequels or something, when didn't those get pretty well known?
Yeah, that was my introduction. Yeah.
But yeah, so I looked up a couple best of the worst things and kind of just scrubbed through them a bit. But I don't think I've watched a full video of theirs ever.
I tend to watch the half in the bags and the reviews because I mean they are funny, and I tend to gravitate towards stuff I've already seen. Like I don't want to have any spoilers, but I'm not a guy who likes to watch bad movies for the sake of bad movies. But I don't find myself, with a bunch of people like, oh, let's turn on a bad movie and laugh about it. I haven't been in that situation since 2007 or shortly after my college days, so I don't particularly I don't find myself watching the best of the worst series too much, but I have seen a couple of those videos. Yes. And you're right, the best sense of camaraderie comes from those videos because everybody's there and sharing the experience. But yes, I love Red Letter Media. That's one of my go-to YouTube channels for any type of movie goodness. So yes.
Also, particularly with Best of the Worst, there's Rich Evans, and I he's very funny to me. I can't. The only downside is I can't watch this at work because I'm basically, it's at night. I'm a security guard in a way, but whenever Rich Evans laughs, you can't control that volume. It just rings out and people hear it. So I can never watch the show while I'm at work. That's the only downside to Rich Evans.
All right. So Rich is the guy with that laugh. You think you can recreate the laugh?
No.
It's just this high pitched, and you're right, it's so loud. And it's funny watching the other guys kind of turn when he's really going, they kind of turn and watch him and chuckle to themselves.
So wait, John, you said you've never really watched a complete video. Is that why you're just like, this isn't for me? It's just not hitting any buttons.
No, I wouldn't say that. I actually plan to look up some videos for, like Matt said, something I've seen already, so I can relate to it more. And checking them out because I've heard good things about them, just always forget to check it out for some reason.
I would recommend the Half in the Bag series. They've got like 2022 movie catch-ups where they'll just kind of talk about a block of movies that came out this year that they saw, and they'll crack jokes and stuff like that. So I would look for one of those. Pretty good entry.
Matt, would you ever go on the show? And what would it be, the Half in the Bag segment that you would want?
Would I ever go on the show? Yeah. I'd probably be pretty intimidated, but yeah, I would probably go on the show if I had the opportunity. Yeah, I'd probably go on Half of the Bag or something like that.
So but, you could be like Tim Heidecker and those guys, where like they'll sometimes have a third person in there on Half of the Bag. Yeah.
Although I could see going on Best of the Worst though, because you're on a even playing field. You're all watching the movie at the same time and cracking jokes, so that'd probably be a pretty good experience. I'm not opposed to watching a bad movie with a bunch of people. I just don't get the opportunity.
It's great.
We should do that sometime virtually.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. All right. That was the end. Actually, there's nothing left but the vague memories of, what was it, the dodos and shit.
So long ago.
Yeah. A lot can happen in 30 minutes. All right, well, anyways.
So long ago, dodos practically existed back then.
Oh yeah. Oddly enough, in my native language, I am actually called Dodo by my little sisters. That's what little sisters call their older brother.
Oh, really?
So I grew up being called Dodo. There you go.
Mm.
Like,
Then-
subscribe, comment.
And they cloned you.
Oh shit, because I was just too fucking stupid to live.
Hmm.
This was a few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud,
John Emmett.
Matt Hagen.